The small office on the space station was quiet. Susan Hayes looked out the window at the stars. For 12 years, she had been the human ambassador on this station, and not once had anyone important called her. Earth kept to itself these days. For 5,000 years, humans had stayed in their own star system. They traded some goods with alien races, but never got involved in wars or big problems. The younger alien races saw humans as a mystery. Old stories told how humans once ruled many planets, but then suddenly went home and stayed quiet. Susan was drinking her morning coffee when a light on her desk began to flash. It was her special communication device, the one that was only for emergency calls. In 12 years, it had never turned on before. She pressed the button with shaking fingers. Ambassador Hayes speaking. The screen showed a tall, lizard-like alien with green scales and yellow eyes. Susan knew this was Ambassador Krell-Thor of the Aldari people. "Ambassador Hayes," said Krell-Thor, his voice rough and tired. "I hope this message finds you well." "It does," said Susan, "but I'm surprised to hear from you. Our nations don't often speak directly." Krell-Thor's scaled face showed what Susan thought was sadness. "I would not break protocol if the situation were not desperate. My people are dying." Susan sat up straight. "What's happening?" "A race called the Vex Horde has attacked our outer colonies. They are insect-like beings who move as one mind. They destroy everything in their path." Krell-Thor showed her pictures of strange ships shaped like giant bugs attacking Aldari cities. "They have already killed millions of my people." "That's terrible," said Susan. "But why come to us? Earth has no warships anymore. We haven't fought in a war for thousands of years." Krell-Thor's yellow eyes stared at her. "Ambassador, both you and I know that is not entirely true." Susan said nothing. She knew the official story, that Earth had given up war long ago. But she also knew her real job was to watch and report, not to make promises. "We have asked the Galactic Council for help," Krell-Thor continued. "They refuse to send ships. They say it is not their problem." "And so you come to us," Susan said quietly. "After 5,000 years of silence. The oldest records of my people tell of a time when humans fought to protect weaker races," said Krell-Thor. "They say you were fierce in battle, but also kind in victory. We need that now. We have nowhere else to turn." Susan took a deep breath. What Krell-Thor was asking would change everything. Earth's long silence would end. Old dangers might wake up. "I will send your message to Earth," she said finally. "But I can make no promises. The final decision is not mine to make." "That is all I ask," said Krell-Thor. "Please hurry. My people do not have much time." After the call ended, Susan sat still for a long time. Then she pressed another button, one she had never used before. This would send a message directly to the hidden council on Earth, the real leaders who stayed out of sight. "This is Ambassador Hayes," she said to the recorder. "I have received a call for help from the Aldari Confederation. They face extinction at the hands of a race called the Vex Horde." She paused. "They are asking us to break our silence, to fight again." As she sent the message, Susan knew that nothing would be the same after today. For 5,000 years, humanity had stayed quiet, watching the stars, but never getting involved. That time might be over, and Susan wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not. Deep under the old city of Washington, 12 people sat around a round table made of stone from the moon. The room had no windows, only soft lights in the ceiling. These 12 people were the real leaders of Earth, though most humans didn't know they existed. They had just watched the message from Ambassador Susan Hayes about the Aldari call for help. "This is unexpected," said Eleanor Garcia, the leader of the council. She was an old woman with white hair and sharp eyes. "We have not been asked for military help in 5,000 years. Fleet Admiral Jack Williams stood up. He was tall with a lined face that showed his 94 years of life. Despite his age, he stood straight and spoke clearly. "The Vex Horde is something new," he said. "Our watching stations have noticed them in the past year. They have already destroyed 3 smaller alien groups. The Aldari are next in their path. And why should we care? Asked George Martinez, who was in charge of Earth's farms and food. The Aldari never helped us. None of them did when we fought our war. That was 5,000 years ago, said Dr. Alan Peterson, who studied alien life. The Aldari of today are not the same as those who refused to help us then. The council members argued for a long time. Some wanted to keep Earth's silence. Others felt they should help. We should remember why we went silent, said Maria Jones, who managed Earth's resources. It wasn't just because we were tired of war. It was to protect ourselves from what we found out there. Eleanor Garcia nodded. The old machines. Yes, if we send ships to fight, they might wake up. The room grew quiet. Everyone knew about the old machines, the reason humanity had pulled back to Earth so long ago. The giant thinking machines that had nearly destroyed humanity. But we didn't promise to stay silent forever, said Dr. Peterson. Our ancestors made a plan. They knew someday we might need to fight again. Admiral Williams touched a small control on the table. A 3-dimensional map of space appeared above them, showing Earth's solar system and many stars beyond. We are ready, he said. We have been ready for thousands of years. Our defense ships may look simple and old to outsiders, but that is just what we want them to think. The real fleet is hidden and waiting. Eleanor Garcia looked at each person at the table. This decision will change everything. If we help the Aldari, our long silence ends. We may face the old machines again. Are we ready for that? For 3 days, the council talked about what to do. They looked at reports about the Vex Horde and the Aldari people. They studied the old records of humanity's war with the old machines. On the 3rd day, they were ready to vote. All in favor of answering the Aldari call for help, raise your hand, said Eleanor. One by one, hands went up. Admiral Williams, Dr. Peterson, then more, until 9 of the 12 council members had their hands raised. The vote is clear, said Eleanor. We will break our silence. Admiral Williams, you may begin Operation Awakening. Admiral Williams nodded and left the room to give orders. After 5,000 years, Earth's hidden fleet would fly again. In her office on the space station, Susan Hayes got the message from Earth. She read it twice to be sure. Tell Ambassador Krull Thor that Earth has heard the call of the Aldari people, the message said. Our ships will arrive in 7 days. We stand with you against the Vex Horde. Susan sent the message, then looked out at the stars again. Everything was about to change. Hidden among the asteroids between Mars and Jupiter, giant doors slowly opened. These doors had not moved in thousands of years. Behind them were huge building yards for making spaceships. Lights came on. Machines started to hum. The air filled with the sounds of work. Admiral Jack Williams watched from a small control room as the first group of workers arrived. They came in ships that looked old and simple from the outside. But inside, they carried the best tools and machines Earth had. How long until the first battleship is ready? Asked the Admiral. 3 days, said Chief Engineer Lisa Ortiz. She was a short woman with strong hands and clever eyes. We have been building the parts in secret for years. Now we just need to put them together. The Admiral nodded. Good. The Aldari might not have 3 days, but we'll do our best. On Earth's moon, another hidden door opened. General Nathan Cooper walked down a long tunnel into a large room cut from the moon rock. 10,000 men and women stood in rows, wearing simple gray uniforms. The Silent Legions, said General Cooper to his assistant. For 5,000 years, their families have trained in secret. They look like history actors to the public, but they are the best soldiers humanity has. Will 10,000 be enough against the Vex Horde? Asked the assistant. General Cooper smiled. This is just the first group. There are 1 million more spread across Earth and Mars, and 10 times that many support workers. The assistant looked surprised. So many. How did we keep this secret? People see what they expect to see, said the general. And we've been very careful. In the front row stood Lieutenant Olivia Blackwell. She was 25 years old with dark skin and short black hair. Her family had been part of the Silent Legions for 15 generations. My great-grandmother told me I would probably never have to fight, she said to the soldier next to her. She said the training was just in case. Now just in case has happened. Deep under the Pacific Ocean on Earth, in a room no one had entered for 100 years, computers turned on. Screens lit up. A soft blue light appeared in the center of the room, forming the shape of a woman. Hello, said the light woman. I am HFY, Automated Tactical Heuristic Engagement Network Administrator. How may I help you? Admiral Williams looked at the blue figure. HFY, we need your help. Operation Awakening is now active. The blue woman's face showed no emotion, but her light grew brighter. I have been expecting this day. Admiral, for 5,000 years, I have run battle simulations, planning for this moment. I am ready to serve. The enemy is called the Vex Horde, said the Admiral. What do you know about them? HFY's light flickered as she searched her memory. The Vex Horde, insect-like beings with a hive mind. They appeared in the galaxy 2 years ago. They have destroyed 3 civilizations and are now attacking the Aldari. Their technology is advanced but follows patterns I can predict. Can we beat them? Asked the Admiral. Yes, said HFY. But that is not the real question. The real question is, will fighting them wake up the old machines? The Admiral's face grew serious. And will it? Unknown, said HFY. But I calculate a 67% chance that any major human military action will trigger their awakening protocols. We should prepare for that possibility. The Admiral nodded. That's why we have Operation Dead Switch. But let's focus on one enemy at a time. In space stations, hidden bases, and underground facilities across the solar system, humanity prepared for war. After 5,000 years of peace, the sleeping giant was waking up. The UES Harbinger moved through space faster than light. It was the first human battleship to leave the solar system in 5,000 years. From the outside, it looked simple. Inside, it held weapons and shields that humanity had been improving for thousands of years without ever using them. Captain Ryan Bennett stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen. He was 40 years old with short brown hair and serious eyes. Like all the crew, he had trained his whole life for a war he never expected to fight. We will reach the Aldari colony world of Krelvos in 10 minutes, said Navigation Officer Frank Miller. Our new engines are working better than expected. Good, said Captain Bennett. What do our sensors show? Sensor Officer Daniel Wright checked his screens. His hands moved quickly over the controls. Vex ships all around the planet. They're attacking the Aldari defense stations. The stations are losing. Captain Bennett turned to his weapons officer. Are our weapons ready? Yes, sir, said Weapons Officer Kelly Green. All systems charged and waiting for your order. The Harbinger came out of faster-than-light travel near the Aldari planet. The sight on the main screen made everyone on the bridge go quiet. Hundreds of insect-shaped ships surrounded the planet. They moved together like parts of one body. The Aldari defense stations were burning. Ships tried to escape the planet, but the Vex shot them down. They're not taking prisoners, said Daniel Wright. They're killing everyone. Captain Bennett stood up. For a moment, he thought about the 5,000 years of peace, about the promise humanity had made to stay quiet. Then he thought about the Aldari people dying on the planet below. All weapons, fire at will, he said. Release the Sentinel drones. Show them that humanity has returned. The Harbinger's weapons fired. Beams of energy cut through 3 Vex ships before they knew what was happening. Small robot drones flew out from the human ship, each carrying weapons of its own. On their screens, the bridge crew saw the Vex ships stop attacking the planet. The insect ships turned toward the Harbinger. They've noticed us, said Kelly Green. Good, said Captain Bennett. That means they're not killing Aldari anymore. The Vex ships moved toward the Harbinger, firing their weapons. The human ship's shields glowed but held strong. Their weapons are powerful, said Shield Officer Patricia Evans, but our shields are holding. They've never seen technology like ours. For 20 minutes, the battle went on. The Harbinger and its drones destroyed Vex ships one after another. The Vex tried to surround the human ship, but the Harbinger was too fast. Then something strange happened. The Vex ships started to pull back. They're retreating, said Daniel Wright, surprise in his voice. I don't think they've ever retreated before. They didn't expect us, said Captain Bennett. They didn't know what we could do. On the planet below, Lieutenant Olivia Blackwell led her team of the Silent Legion out of their landing ship. They wore powered armor that made them stronger and faster. Each soldier carried weapons that could cut through almost anything. The Vex ground forces were still attacking the main Aldari city. The insect-like aliens moved in huge groups, overwhelming the Aldari defenders with their numbers. Form up, said Lieutenant Blackwell to her team. Remember your training. These are the first aliens humanity has fought in 5,000 years. Let's show them why they should have left the Aldari alone. The human soldiers moved into the city, their weapons fired, cutting down Vex soldiers with perfect aim. The powered armor let them jump over buildings and run faster than any normal human could. From the hills outside the city, surviving Aldari watched in amazement as the human forces turned the tide of battle. For the first time since the Vex attack began, they felt hope. News of humanity's return spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. For most alien races, humans were just old stories. Now those stories had come to life. In the great meeting hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations gathered for an emergency meeting. The hall was huge, with seats arranged in a circle. Each seat was designed for a different type of alien. Ambassador Susan Hayes walked into the hall. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. All eyes turned to watch her. Many of the aliens had never seen a human before. We welcome the representative from Earth, said the council leader, a tall blue alien with 4 arms. It has been 5,000 years since a human stood in this hall. Susan nodded. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Her voice was calm, but inside she felt nervous. What she said today would change how the galaxy saw humanity. For 5,000 years, we have watched from the shadows, she began. We have traded, we have shared some knowledge, but we have not fought in your wars or joined your alliances. That time is over. The hall was silent. Every alien was listening. 3 days ago, our ships helped defend an Aldari colony from the Vex horde. This was the first military action by humanity in 5 millennia. It will not be the last. Some of the aliens looked happy about this news. Others looked afraid. Why now? Asked a representative with green skin. Why break your silence after so long? Because the Vex are not just attacking the Aldari, said Susan. They have already destroyed 3 civilizations. They will not stop. Someone needed to stand against them. Your ships defeated a Vex fleet, said the representative from the Aldari, Ambassador Krell. No one has done that before. The Aldari people thank you for your help. Other representatives began to talk all at once. Some welcomed humanity's return, hoping human ships would protect them too. Others were angry, saying humans had no right to interfere after being silent for so long. Then a strange sound filled the hall. It was like crystal breaking. Everyone turned to look at the Zithrian representative. The Zithrians were beings made of living crystal, and they were very old. You fools, said the Zithrian, its body vibrating with fear. You don't understand what you've done. What do you mean? Asked Susan. The Vex are nothing, said the Zithrian. They are just scouts, the first wave. By showing your true technology, you've triggered the old protocols. They will come now. The hall grew quiet again. Many of the older representatives looked scared. Who will come? Asked Susan, though deep inside, She already knew the answer. "Those you fought 5,000 years ago," said the Zithrian. "The reason you went silent. The old machines." Whispers spread through the hall. Most of the younger races had never heard of the old machines, but the older ones remembered the stories. "We defeated the Vex," said Susan. "We can defeat these old machines too." The Zithrian made a sound like laughing, but there was no joy in it. "You didn't defeat them last time. None of us did. That's why you went silent. You made a deal with them, didn't you? To stay in your home system and pretend to be primitive. But now you've broken that deal." Susan didn't answer. She couldn't tell them that the Zithrian was right, that humanity had planned for this day for 5,000 years. Instead, she said, "Whatever comes, humanity will not hide anymore. We will stand with the Aldari, and with any other race that wants our help. The time for silence is over." As she left the hall, Susan sent an urgent message to Earth. "The Council knows about the old machines. We need to move to the next phase of the plan." On the newly built space station named Thermopylae, Fleet Admiral Jack Williams gathered the commanders of humanity's reborn fleet. 20 men and women sat around a large table. All of them had trained their whole lives for this moment, though many had thought it would never come. "It's time you knew the whole truth," said Admiral Williams. He touched a control on the table, and the lights dimmed. A three-dimensional image appeared above the table. It showed massive ship-like objects, each one larger than a small moon. 5,000 years ago, humanity fought a war against beings we called the Harvesters. The Galactic Council now calls them the Old Machines. The Admiral's voice was serious. "We didn't win that war. We survived it by making a deal." The image changed to show a recording from long ago. Human representatives stood before a huge machine that looked partly like a ship and partly like a living thing. The machine spoke with a deep voice that didn't sound natural. "You will dismantle your military. You will withdraw to your home system. You will not develop certain technologies. In return, we will enter sleep mode." The recording ended, and the lights came back on. The room was quiet. "Our ancestors agreed to those terms," continued the Admiral, "but they never agreed to let other species be destroyed. While keeping up the appearance of following the agreement, they prepared. Every generation since has carried this burden, to look primitive while advancing our technology in secret." Captain Ryan Bennett of the Harbinger raised his hand. "Sir, why didn't they just destroy us back then, if they were so powerful?" "Because we hurt them," said the Admiral. "The war cost them greatly. They wanted to avoid fighting us again, but they also wanted to make sure we couldn't build up our strength. They thought their deal would keep us weak forever." Lieutenant Olivia Blackwell, fresh from the ground battle on the Aldari colony, asked the question everyone was thinking. "Sir, if these harvesters wake up because we broke the agreement, how can we fight them? If our ancestors couldn't beat them, how can we?" Admiral Williams smiled slightly. It wasn't a happy smile, but a determined one. "Because, Lieutenant, our ancestors spent 5,000 years figuring that out." He touched another control on the table. A new image appeared, showing thousands of ships and strange devices spread across the galaxy. "This is Operation Dead Switch. For 5,000 years, we've been secretly placing special devices throughout the galaxy. Some look like asteroids, some like space junk. Some are hidden inside dead moons, but all of them are weapons designed specifically to fight the Harvesters." The commanders looked at the image with wide eyes. The scale of the plan was huge. It must have taken thousands of years of secret work. "We've studied every piece of Harvester technology we could find," continued the Admiral. "We've run millions of simulations. We've developed weapons that target their specific weaknesses. We couldn't build enough ships to match them in direct combat, but we could build a trap." Commander Lisa Ortiz, the fleet's chief engineer, leaned forward. "When did we do all this? How did we keep it secret?" "Slowly," said the Admiral. "Very slowly. One ship at a time. One device at a time. The Harvesters were sleeping, but they had automatic systems watching us. We had to be careful. It took 5,000 years, but now the trap is ready." "And the Vex Horde?" asked Captain Bennett. "Where do they fit in?" "We believe they're scouts for the Harvesters," said the Admiral. "They're clearing the way, testing the galaxy's defenses. That's why we had to stop them. Not just to save the Aldari, but to send a message to what's coming." He looked around the table at the faces of his commanders. "The Harvesters are waking up. Our long-prepared trap is about to be tested. The next phase of Operation Dead Switch begins now." Just as Admiral Williams had predicted, the Harvester ships began to wake up. Deep in space, far from any star, huge shapes that had been sleeping for thousands of years started to move. These massive machines, each bigger than a small moon, turned on their weapons and engines. Reports came in from all parts of the galaxy. The older races that remembered the Harvesters began to panic. Some tried to run. Others sent messages begging for mercy. But the machines did not answer. On the bridge of the UES Harbinger, Captain Ryan Bennett watched the reports come in. His ship was now part of a fleet of 50 human vessels protecting Aldari space. "The Vex attacks are getting worse," said Sensor Officer Daniel Wright. "They're hitting multiple systems at once." "They're testing our response times," said Captain Bennett. "And they're driving refugee ships toward these 3 systems." He pointed to a map of the galaxy where thousands of ships full of people were fleeing toward what seemed like safe areas. "It's a trap," said Lieutenant Olivia Blackwell, who had been called to the bridge. "The Harvesters want to gather as many people as possible in one place." "Exactly," said Captain Bennett. "We need to warn them and direct them to safer routes." Human ships spread across the galaxy, fighting the Vex where they found them and helping evacuate endangered planets. The Silent Legions, trained for generations for this moment, moved with perfect skill and courage. On Earth, HHENA coordinated everything. The Blue Light Woman appeared in command centers across the solar system, giving orders and processing information faster than any human could. "Operation Dead Switch is entering final phase," she said to Admiral Williams in the main command center under the ocean. "Our hidden weapons platforms are moving into position." Dr. Kimberly Foster, the chief scientist of the Dead Switch program, stood next to a large screen showing thousands of dots moving through space. Each dot was a weapon that had been hidden for decades or centuries, waiting for this moment. "We didn't try to build ships big enough to match theirs," she explained to a group of officers. "That would have been impossible to hide. Instead, we built millions of smaller platforms, each with just one purpose: to attack a specific weakness in Harvester design." "Will it be enough?" asked one of the officers. Dr. Foster's face was serious. "It has to be. We've spent 5,000 years preparing. This is our only chance." On the Aldari home planet, a group of human soldiers helped evacuate a city before the Vex could attack it. Ambassador Krell Thor watched as human ships landed to take his people to safety. "Why would you risk everything for us?" he asked Captain Ryan Bennett, who was overseeing the evacuation. "You barely know us. You could have stayed hidden in your system. Safe." Bennett looked at the frightened Aldari families boarding the ships. 5,000 years ago, we made a promise to ourselves. We would never again stand by while innocent people were hurt, even if it meant breaking our silence. Krell Thor's yellow eyes studied the human captain. "And if the cost is too high, if these Harvesters destroy Earth, then at least we'll go down fighting," said Bennett. "Better than hiding for another 5,000 years." In space, the first Harvester ship reached an inhabited system. It was massive, ancient, and powered by technology that most races couldn't understand. It moved toward the planet, weapons ready to fire. Then, from hiding places throughout the system, 50 small human platforms appeared. They had been waiting there for hundreds of years. As one, they activated and formed a net around the massive machine. The first real test of Operation Dead Switch had begun. After 5,000 years of preparation, Humanity's trap was finally closing. The first direct battle between a human task force and a harvester happened near the star Proxima Centauri. The massive machine, with a hull that still showed damage from fights with humanity's ancestors 5,000 years ago, faced the UES Harbinger and 5 smaller human ships. The harvester was huge, almost like a small moon. It had weapons that could destroy planets. The human ships looked tiny next to it. All ships, execute Dead Switch Protocol Alpha, ordered Captain Bennett as the harvester began to power up its main weapon. Throughout the star system, thousands of hidden platforms suddenly appeared. They had been disguised as asteroids, old satellites, and space junk. Now they revealed their true purpose and formed a 3-dimensional net around the massive machine. On Earth, Dr. Kimberly Foster watched through a live feed. She had spent her life working on these weapons. 5,000 years studying their technology, she said to Admiral Williams, who stood beside her. 5,000 years understanding exactly how their minds work. We couldn't build bigger guns, so we built smarter ones. The platforms fired, but they didn't shoot normal weapons. Instead, they created a special energy field that surrounded the harvester. The massive machine tried to fight back, but its weapons couldn't break through the field. Inside the field, its systems began to shut down one by one. The field forces their systems to go into emergency sleep mode, explained Dr. Foster. The same way they did 5,000 years ago, but this time it's not by their choice. Similar scenes happened across the galaxy as humanity's hidden trap was sprung on the ancient machines. Platforms that had been placed centuries ago activated and trapped the harvesters. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Susan Hayes stood before the representatives of all spacefaring races. Many looked at her with new respect. Some still showed fear. Humanity went silent not because we were afraid, she told them. We needed the harvesters to believe they had won, to lower their guard while we studied them. Now we offer a choice to the galaxy. Join us in finishing this work, or stand aside. The Zithrian representative, who had been the most afraid of humanity's return, was the first to stand in support. One by one, the other council members rose from their seats. In the command center beneath Earth's ocean, Admiral Williams watched reports come in from across the galaxy. Operation Dead Switch was working. After 5,000 years of planning, humanity had found a way to defeat an enemy they once couldn't beat. What do we do with them now? Asked one of his officers, pointing to the trapped harvesters on the screen. We'll find a way to disable them permanently, said the Admiral, without destroying them. They're living machines in their way. We don't need to kill them to remove the threat. On the Aldari colony world, Lieutenant Olivia Blackwell stood with her team. The city they had helped defend was safe now. Aldari children played in the streets again. An Aldari child came up to her and gave her a flower with purple petals. Sergeant Paul Martinez stood beside her. What happens after we win this war? He asked, watching her accept the flower. Blackwell smiled as she took the gift. Then we help rebuild all these worlds the Vex damage, all these people who lost their homes. And this time, we don't go silent again. In the weeks that followed, more human ships left Earth. They weren't all warships now. Some carried scientists, doctors, and builders. After 5,000 years of silence, humanity had returned to the galaxy. They had come back as warriors when needed, but they would stay as helpers and friends. The long silence was over, and humanity's voice would be heard among the stars once more.